Hi, Carrie Obez here, and in this video I'm going to teach you a simple and game-changing lighting trick that will absolutely level up your reference photography skills for your portrait drawings. So why is this important? Well, having a good reference image to work from is really half the battle in creating a successful portrait drawing. Now, to work with this technique, you're going to need three things: the camera you already have, someone to photograph, and a window. Yep, that's it. So let's see how it's done. This tutorial was taken from my Patreon course called Draw a Portrait from Your Own Photo. So before we start any image, the first principle of realism that we really need to learn is how to understand light. It really doesn't matter who your subject is, how interesting they are, how beautiful, how whatever it is that you're trying to say in this particular portrait. The first thing that you need to really look at is how you're going to light your subject. And it changes everything. It establishes the mood, how attractive somebody looks, how young they look, how old they look, and everything that you're trying to say about this image is going to be dictated by the light. Also, as artists, it's different. We have very specific needs that we have to work with in order to pull together a successful piece of artwork, and therefore we're looking for different things. Also, within the context of using photographic reference for portraiture, there's a number of issues that you need to be aware of. If the subject is not lit properly, if it's flat, even lighting, if you've used a camera flash, if you've used the wrong lens, if you're coming at it from the wrong angle, what you'll end up with is an image that looks flat and photographic. And you may not think of it looking at the photograph, but when it translates over onto a piece of paper in a drawing, it becomes really, really evident. Something looks odd, something looks off. It just doesn't come off looking properly. And we're not there to slavishly copy the photo that's in front of us. We are there to interpret it as artists and come up with the best possible interpretation and artistic expression of the image that's in front of us. So this is why we need to look at light first. This is the first skill set that we need to be aware of, and the first one that we're going to go in and take a hard look at and work to master.
If we want to master portrait lighting, one of the best places to look is to the masters. And until recently, they had only natural light to rely on in order to create and design their images. Capturing character, having the light wrap softly around the face, a full range of values from dark darks to light lights, and strong shadow shapes with a variety of edges that help articulate the form. Now, let's take a closer look at what doesn't work for portrait lighting and why. The image on the left has flat, even lighting. There are no shadows and no form. And this is caused from the on-camera flash that is directly in front of the sitter. And what it does, it blasts the face with a complete, even flow of light, which eliminates all shadows. So turn them off on your camera when you're taking your reference photos. When we look at the image on the right, the lighting is called directional, meaning simply that it's coming from a direction. It's not just flat and even. It can come from left or right, top or bottom, just as long as it's coming from a direction that moves across the face. And that directional lighting is what gives us form, shadows, and edges, all the things that we're looking for as working artists. Well, if you're not using a flash on your camera, how are you going to have enough light to take the picture? Well, quite often we use natural light, and the first place you think of is to go outside. But there's another problem with this. Outside, there's too much light, and it has a tendency to do the same thing as the flash. It will fill in all of your shadow shapes and eliminate your form, or cause the opposite problem of creating very harsh shadows from the midday sun, which are very unflattering, and quite often they cause the sitter to squint. Here are a couple more examples of flat outdoor lighting. They're actually very attractive and flattering photographs. They just aren't giving us as artists what we need. So where do we find the best light? Well, we're going to do exactly what the old masters did. We're going to take our subject and place them next to a window. This is the easiest, the cheapest, and the best quality light that you can find without having to invest in any lighting equipment. Let's walk inside a regular room inside of a regular house and see what's available to us in terms of effective window lighting. Depending on the time of day and the time of year, how sunny it is or how cloudy, it can affect the quality of that light coming through the window. Let's look at the area that's right up against the window at the 0 foot mark and about 3 feet away to the side of the window. Each of them will give you a slightly different quality of light, depending on the time of day, the weather, and the coloring of the person that you're photographing. These will all determine the best position that you'll take in order to get the best reference image. I notice that when I put the models with dark hair and light skin directly next to the window, the effect is actually really good. The dark hair counterbalances the whiteness of the skin and gives us the range of values that we're looking for. We're able to get nice shadow shapes, and that combination works really, really well. But when I worked with models who had very light skin and very fair hair or even white hair, the effect was very different. I was able to get obviously very nice bright highlights, but I had to push my contrasts afterwards in order to get the darks. And when I worked with a model with very dark skin and dark hair, the contrast was not enough and the darks just began to overwhelm the entire image. And I found the effect too intense and unflattering. What you'll begin to notice is that the closer to the window you take the photograph, the higher the contrast. The more you move away from the window, the more diffuse the light and the lower the contrast. Let's take a look at a series of models and move them around the room. In the image on the left, our model is situated 3 feet from the window. To the right, she's been moved 10 feet from the window. Notice how the shadows are much softer and much more diffused. In the image on the left, the model is standing only 1 foot away from the window, but I used the on-camera flash. In the image on the right, the model is standing about 13 feet away from the window, but she is facing it directly, so the light that is hitting her face is diffused and flat, thereby eliminating all of our shadows. All 4 images were taken in the same room, minutes apart, with the same lighting and the same camera. The only thing that is different about each one of them is that the model stood in a different place. For this model, 3 feet away from the window was the best choice. For this model, because she has dark hair and light skin, the contrast and range of values is already built in. In the image on the left, she's 1 foot away from the window. In the image on the right, she's 3 feet away from the window. And you can see with just that short distance, there is a difference in the way the light plays across the face. In the image on the left, she's now been moved 10 feet away from the window, and you can see how diffused the shadows are on her face now and how it's not nearly as attractive. On the image on the right, she's 13 feet away from the window and facing it directly, and has flat, even lighting across her face, and it's eliminated all of the shadows. For this model, strong contrasts and strong shadow shapes are extremely flattering, so the 1 foot mark was the best choice. For the next model with dark skin, we have a whole other set of issues, and you can see putting her on the left side next to the window at the 1 foot mark is too harsh. There's too many shadows, not enough contrast, and it's simply not flattering. In the image on the right, we've moved her 3 feet away from the window, and you can see already how the diffusing light is far more flattering. But when I move her 10 feet away from the window, the soft, diffused light works the best. And the image on the right, once again, this model is 13 feet away from the window, directly facing it. So she has flat, even lighting on her face. And you can see that this is probably the least attractive of all of the options, and causes the same problem, only on the other end of the value scale where there's not enough range of values.
In conclusion, lighting is so important when dealing with portraiture. It absolutely is the soul of the image. And even mastering just this one simple technique will elevate your artwork to an entirely different level and make your work really stand out. This tutorial is part of a full course that I offer on my Patreon site, and it's called Draw a Portrait from Your Own Photo. And if you would like to learn the skills to draw beautiful and realistic portraits, you can. Simply go to the link for my Patreon site, which is in the description below, and find out how. Now it's your turn to shine. Why not just take this one tip and apply it to your next portrait project when you're taking your reference photograph? Or at the very least, look for those same characteristics in the images that you already have and would like to use for your art projects. You can share your creations in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe so that you can get more videos and tips on how to enhance your art skills. Thanks very much for watching, and remember, stay creative. This is your time to express yourself. And we'll see you in the next video.